Omar Gonzalez was a center forward, and not just any year old bum ass center forward. He was a baller, straight up baller up top.
And, I wasn't that much of a baller forward. Otherwise, I would have been starting ahead of Josie Altidore. I'm on the treatment table like every day. And this academy kid is training with us, and he's like, "Yo, are you hurt or something? Like, you're always in there." I'm like, "Whoa. Bro, listen, like, I've been playing longer than you've been alive." I can think about so many players that at each level were better than me. I just keep thinking about the little Mexican teams that just used to kick our ass, just doing all, playing good football. I don't know what happened to them.
Exactly. Same experience in Cali too.
Same.
What could have been if they were given the same opportunity? There should be enough for all of us to get through.
This is New Ground with Allen Hopkins Jr. Let's go. And Jalil Anibiba.
With my main man, Jalil Anibiba, I'm Allen Hopkins Jr., and together we are the best show on your soccer radio, your favorite player's favorite show, New Ground, the home, the epicenter of melanin-rich conversations about life, soccer, footy, whatever you call it. We hope that each and every time you lock into the show, you find yourself in everything that we do. Jalil, how we living this week?
You already know what it is. You already know the vibes. I never came on here a day in my life and said that the vibes are low, because they're not even mid, they're up. And the reason why is because the U.S. men's national team is currently, right now, taking the field against Panama Nations League. This is excellent stuff, because so many people have been waiting with bated breath to see this competition progress on. We got a dope guest for you that is right in conjunction with that topic. I'm back with you, Allen. It's crazy. The chain is popping. The fit is crazy. Most importantly, the lineup is crisp as well. Those of y'all that can't see, you're missing out. But I'm very excited to be here with each and every one of y'all right now on New Ground.
I am back from London and my board meetings at Brentford FC. What an amazing club, a fantastic experience to be on the inside of a Premier League team is still sort of beyond even my thoughts at times, but certainly I appreciate everyone there, the CEO, Cliff Crown, Deji Davies, the entire club has been fantastic to me. My guy, Marcus Gale, Jalil, this is a real show. And Marcus Gale is a Brentford ambassador, club legend. And, I was wearing my nice little fit for the board meetings, and, I was showing a little ankle, and he made sure, just in case I needed some cocoa butter for them ankles, he had me on lock. So he's a real one. So I appreciate Marcus and everyone there. We had a great time. And then, went down to Bournemouth to see Brentford play there at Vitality. And I sent you the picture, got the link up with our guy, Tim Bezpachenko, who is now one of the top guys at Black Knight, which owns Bournemouth. And just an incredible experience. So fun to chop it up with Bez. Brentford got the result, so that was fun to be in the director's box in the boardroom for that result. But it was a lot of fun, man. I just am so blessed to be on another part of an amazing soccer journey. So shout out to the Bees. I appreciate Brentford. It's the best is ahead, and I love the experience I'm having with that club. And London and the UK is always a good time for sure. For sure.
Well, you got a lot to be blessed about and a lot to be grateful for, and when you talk about cocoa butter, that is a blessing for all of us. How many times has that resurrected you? Your ankles, elbows, knees, it can't be ashy. That's the first thing you're taught as a young Black individual. When you're conscious of yourself, you can hear and remember mama or your pops talking about, hey, don't walk up out this house ashy. You better lather up real quick. What's going on here? So you can't be ashy figuratively and literally. So it's good to see that you still out here smooth with the cocoa butter.
When my mom would just get mad about it, she would just go find some Vaseline and then just face palm my face.
That's how
big old hand in my face.
People be getting it twisted. Wifey be saying all the time, like, that's Vaseline. That ain't supposed to go either on your face or on what? Vaseline is for the no.
We use Aquaphor now. Our guy, our EP, Steven Geraldo knows, yeah, we're Aquaphor.
Alan, we had this conversation at the crib. Aquaphor ain't nothing but Vaseline, but they charge you 3 times as much. It's
That's right, that's
Aquaphor.
right. They upcharging on the Aquaphor for sure. But hey, this is new ground. This is where we keep it 100. And one of the great parts about being in London and seeing matches live is you really get a sense for what a player does. And Tyler Adams, folks, is so good. His scan rate, his recovery, his communication. He out here, he is talking to 10 players and 4 on the other team all at once. His hand gestures, he's got everything you want in that position. And when it's time to defend, he's amazing. And it was a treat to see him. And I was talking to a really good friend, Daniel Guzman, who used to be head of performance, US men's national team, LA Galaxy back in the day. And I told him there was a moment, Jaleel, second half, and what this is like as a player. There was a full-on recovery, like
Yeah,
box to box, where every single field player is on their bike, and it
yeah.
sounded like those 20 field players at Vitality, Bournemouth, and Brentford, it sounded like 20 Ferraris at the
Mhm.
Ferrari club in Calabasas rolling down Topanga to PCH. It was so quintessential EPL in terms of the recovery, the pace, the strength, everyone stopping on the dime, the deceleration, the acceleration, and Tyler Adams is a big part of that. So he will be an absolute key. And it's interesting because our guest later, we're going to have Omar Gonzalez on, and that mindset you need to have about balancing being good every day in your club environment. But I also kind of want to put him in glass, Jaleel,
Right.
and break him out
Yeah.
in 26 because he is that good, that important. And he's going to be a big reason why this team is successful. And you mentioned the Nations League. It's good to see him back and healthy because this is starting to feel like the group, in my opinion, that is going to be part of the clay that Pochettino really carves out to decide who gets to go to the World Cup.
When I think about Tyler Adams, I think about things that you can't teach. I think about intangibles. I think about
Well
mentality. I
said.
think about, being cut from a different cloth. And the reason why I think about those things is because I remember when I was well into my career and Tyler Adams was a teenager starting for the New York Red Bulls. It was very clear that he was special. He was different,
Hmm.
and I'm talking about from a
Yep.
mentality standpoint. His intensity, his drive, his passion, his you talked about his speed and recovery and his intelligence to be able to read the game, yes, but you typically wouldn't see teenagers grabbing the game by the scruff of the neck. Typically, teenagers
That's
are
right.
kinda looking to wait to see, like, what the veterans are doing and then figuring out how they fit in. That's normal. He was like, "Nah, forget all that. Yo, we pressing this way, run this way, press him. Nah, he's weak. He can't pass the ball. So make sure everybody steps
That's
up."
right.
Like, to your point of him talking to
Yep.
10 people on his own team and then talking trash or whatever it is to 4 dudes to intimidate them on the other side of the line, that's Tyler Adams. And then when you
That's
mix
right.
all that up with the fact that he's a baller, he can score goals too, he can manufacture goals too, and he's a leader in every single sense of the word. The fact that he's back with the US men's national team healthy with Bournemouth, and they're having a hell of a season in the EPL, by the way,
They
and
are.
they're still in contention with FA Cup as well, so they can win silverware as well. This is an excellent season here for Tyler Adams, and we always talk about the fact that it is just about him being healthy, and I'm very excited, as are so many U.S. men's national team fans that he's back in the fold. Don't forget what he did in the last Nations League final, scored that absolute banger from deep against
Banger.
Mexico. So interesting prospect as far as him being back with Pochettino and company.
Yeah, bangers only. And Tyler, remember, Jalil and I are filling out our starting 11 for 2026. And right now we got Wes, we got Jedi. We wish him health. I know he's dinged for this camp. We certainly know Christian Pulisic, Tyler Adams as well. We want to continue to see players who play at a high level, who can do some work coming into 2026. We mentioned Bournemouth, Brentford, both safely in mid-table, knock on wood. That sounds like someone that's on the board there. You just want to stay in the game. Promotion and staying in the league is a win. And there's not a single club in the English Premier League outside of Man City and some of the top clubs who want to win championships and believe they can win championships. Everyone else is going for safety to build what it's like to be in the Premier League year over year. You were a part of some big news this week: promotion, relegation. Of course, that's life in Europe. That's life in the UK along the football pyramid. You had a chance to be at the desk, CBS Golasso. Can you take us inside what it was like for you to be a part of that big announcement, and even some of your thoughts about Pro Rel as now it's a real thing on the horizon?
Yeah, one of the best things about working with CBS Sports and Golasso Network is the fact that oftentimes we're at the precipice of a news either breaking or handling big time stories with care and intention. And I want to
Mhm.
give a shout out to the producers, the crew, and just the network in general for always making sure that we are equipped and we're in the right frame of mind to be able to handle these moments as
Well
talent. And
said.
then the rest is up to us to make sure that we live up to the moments. And then in that same vein, you
Love
typically
that.
have very important guests that are coming on to talk about whatever story might be from the real perspective. So being able to speak to Paul McDonough, the president and CEO of USL, to hear from him in terms of
Who
what this
recruited
all
you, by the
means.
way? Who recruited you back in the
Yeah,
day in college?
yeah, it's wild. He was trying to get me to go to
I'm not the only
UConn,
one
and I
getting old.
remember. Hey, listen, look, it still don't show, but black don't crack. But anyway, it was nice to catch
Preach.
up with Paul McDonough because, yes, he was recruiting me to try to get me to go to UConn, and I just remember how that changed my life low key when I started to get letters from the top programs in the country, and it was like the proper, like, Booby Miles experience where, like, I literally had a big ass
Mm,
box full of letters, and I would go through them with my dad and my stepmom and my brothers, and we would just talk about, like, "Yo, like, this is real now. Like, this is real."
mhm.
So yeah, shout out to Paul McDonough for seeing something special in me when I was just a kid. But when you talk about promotion relegation now, that it will be here in 2028 in USL. It's definitely an interesting prospect because we've seen rebrands with with USL, MLS,
Well
NWSL,
said.
even college soccer. So the overall landscape in North America is no stranger to rebrands. And now what I'm looking for is, of course, like everyone else, how does this really play out? How does this become not conceptual, but an idea? And I think if the USL gets this right, it could really change the landscape in North American soccer for the better because a lot of people and players and organizations have been really waiting for a moment where this is something real when it comes to soccer in North America.
You know what? A couple things that come to mind when I couple this news of promotion relegation in USL with the fact that MLS is going to a European calendar. I think this is how it starts to look now. It's how it's going to be. It's going to be closer to what it has been for the rest of the world, and the uniqueness, if you will, of MLS and USL will start to fade in a good way. And for me, everyone can eat. There is enough for all of us here. And when people have asked me over the years about single entity versus promotion relegation throughout the years and life in Europe versus life in America, and people, particularly football execs, Jalil, I've talked about this, is how much comfort and security you must have here working in the game in the States because you don't have promotion relegation. You don't have these big swings potentially that can force a club owner to make a decision because going down is just not an option. But when I think about promotion relegation, I think simply about people. It is about a goal and a dream and people. That's why we love when the 33-year-old minor leaguer for his entire career gets called up to the Pittsburgh Pirates finally in his age 34 season. That's promotion. We love these stories. We do. So why would we legislate against people? Because that's the beauty of it. It's not clubs. It's our good friend Shaw Brown and crying when Ipswich gets promoted. Like, do we not have a heart for this? So it's not about these structures. It's not about the valuations. It's not about your bank accounts, not about your P&L. It is about people. This game starts and ends with people. And promotion and relegation is about someone's journey, someone's story, about someone's affirmation of their life's work. So that's how I would always package it up. And I feel even more strongly because why put a governor on the stories that are going to happen for the teams that are 20 years away from starting that one day reach to the top of the USL pyramid? So I'm excited because I think we're going to see the humanization, if you will, of the game in a way where people can cling to dreams and aspirations of being at the top flight and having uh, Man City come to Luton Town or to come to Ipswich. It's going to be like that for some of these clubs right now. They're going to get an opportunity. So I'm excited about it. It is a long way away. 2028 certainly can be a point in time where we look at in terms of how this game sort of took a new turn and added a new layer for sure.
What you just described is the beauty of football and the beauty of sport. It's the
Hmm.
opportunity to be great. When you play a sport,
That's right.
nobody can take that opportunity away from you. But when you
That's right.
go and you're in other facets of life and other career sets, people could block you. People could
Preach on
people
it.
could say, "No, I'm not gonna hire X, Y, and Z person for some erroneous reason." But sports, in theory, nullifies all that. If you can ball, if you're a
That's right.
good teammate, if your coach vibes with you, and you are executing what you are supposed to execute at a high level every single time, ain't nobody that can stop you. So that's something that is a human desire. We desire that opportunity to be able to maximize our potential and to not be blocked, and to always be put in situations where no matter how hard you try or whatever have you, there is a very low ceiling on what you can achieve. And that is something that has instilled a lot of confidence in me because I've seen through sport myself, my family, the people
Hmm.
that I'm very close with, people I've never met in my life, have reached heights that they were told that they could not reach, but sport allows you to do that, and that is something that is so amazing, and that's why people are in love with playing sports and watching sports and being completely consumed by them as well.
I was speaking to San Diego FC front office just before their home opener. And when I was talking to them, and we had a great lunch and learn there, shout out to my guy DK down there for bringing me into the fold. And someone asked me about what access really means. And what I thought was having the ability to feel the joy and the misery of this game at your own time in your own way. And I've often said that when you're part of a club and you get a big win, at least for me, one of the last people to leave the stadium, you're feeling great. You're about to hit the highway. I got the windows down, Tupac's on. You can't tell me nothing, Jalil. Like I'm waiting for Real Madrid. If they show up, we're gonna beat them. Like Galacticos Real too, right? But that's the joy, and you go home and your family's there and you're feeling good and you have a nightcap and everyone's loving up on you and you're recapping the game, particularly as my kids got older, you felt so much love and joy. You felt like you did something for the family, for their sacrifices. And the flip side is the misery. You should be able to experience the misery of this game. You've been stuck on 25 points for 6 weeks. You lose at home and the whole thing is bad, you're like slinking out of the facility because you think if there's a JV coach with a very good girls team around the corner, they're going to hand you another L. And to me, that is access and representation. Anyone should experience the highs and the lows of the game at their own will in their own way. And that's what I hope not only for everyone who's aspiring to be uh at a level that they're currently not, but it's more what we talk about generally. This game is for all of us, and we want it to be something that's reflective and representative of the entire tapestry of this beautiful planet and game. So I think about that often, and I just think, the promotion and relegation piece is definitely the talking point of the week, and only on new ground will you learn that the man behind it, at least the front man, Paul McDonough, used to send Jalil Anibaba letters via mail from UConn, Ray Reid. You would have fit in right there too. You would have fit right on in, I think, in stores. They had some ballers, for sure. A bunch of good Caribbean homies always made their way up that way. So shout out to Chris Bondi there, um, who's the head coach there. UConn, good peoples for sure. Speaking of good people, coming up next, joining us to cover new ground, Jaleel mentioned it. Greatness is a choice, and this player has chosen to be great each and every day. Coming up on the other side to help us cover new ground this week is Omar Gonzalez, the Chicago Fire FC defender and former U.S. men's national team standout, joins us. Welcome back to New Ground on Sirius XM FC. Jaleel, very excited for this next guest, someone that is a national champion, MLS Rookie of the Year, MLS Defender of the Year, multi-time member of the MLS Best 11, CONCACAF Gold Cup Best 11, has represented the U.S. men's national team at the highest levels, including the 2014 World Cup. I'm speaking of none other than the Chicago Fire defender and friend of the show, Omar Gonzalez. Omar, thank you so much for joining us on New Ground. How you living this week?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Thank you for that nice introduction. It's great to see your faces. It's been a while, and excited to be here.
Omar, new move for you. You are in the city where I started my career, an amazing club that is definitely on the up and up. Talk to us about where your mindset is signing with the team during the off season, and just how you're finding the city of Chicago so far.
The club is in a different place than when you started your career, and I can
Absolutely.
definitely say that is just night and day. And what many would say Chicago in the past was maybe, stuck to MLS 1.0. I think now are the Trailblazers. I think Chicago is the team that's trying to make the big splash. They're spending money. The new facility that I'm sitting in right now is incredible. We were joking before the pod started, but it's hard to leave because you have everything you need. um, they provide everything so that the next day you show up, you're feeling good, able to repeat, hard sessions and get ready for the weekend. I was 2 weeks into preseason when Greg Berhalter called me and said, come into trial. And for me, I'm heading into my 17th year as a professional. It's been a long road. I don't know what I want to do next. But what I do know is that I still love playing. I still love
Mhm.
I still love showing up every day. I love the opportunity that Greg has given me, um, to kind of pay it forward. When I was a rookie back in Galaxy, Greg came back from Europe,
Yeah.
and Greg was my mentor, and he whipped me into shape, and he helped me grow as a person, as a player. And to be honest, Chicago Fire is a very young team. I'm 36 years old. The next oldest person is 32, I believe, in Jeff Gall, and then everyone else is under 29. So I'm the wily veteran, and my goal is to give it back, to pay it forward, to be that presence, that calming presence, to be a leader and just help these young men further their career, continue to develop, and win. Ultimately, I'm here to win. But if I can change people in the process, that's the goal.
You mentioned the age gap in between you and some of your teammates. How many times have they just made you feel old by just walking by a conversation in the meal room, in the locker room? Because certainly with some of those younger academy players, training with the first team, you have some players in training who weren't even born when you played your first MLS game. What has that been like to be the OG?
Well, to be honest, it happens every single day. I mean, I feel, there's conversations happening. Um, there's like, just references that are made that either I'm making, they don't understand, they're making, and I don't understand. But the good thing is that I've been on a few teams recently where there are a lot of young players, and it's just keeping me young. And so it's on me to
Mm.
to stay up with it and just be able to reach them on their level too. It's funny because during preseason, I came in 2 weeks late, so I just hit the ground
Or
running.
right on time, Omar, right
Oh,
on time. It depends
right
on where you want to
after
look at it.
the test, right after the fitness test. Actually, thank you, Greg Berhalter. You did me a favor there because they had like 8 injured players when I got called in. So
Mm.
so they got killed those first 2 weeks. But I come in, but I'm hurting, right? And I'm on the treatment table like every day. And this academy kid is training with us, and he's like, "Yo, are you hurt or something? Like, like you're always in there." I'm like, "Bro, bro, listen, like I've been playing longer than you've been alive. It's just part of it." And I just started, going in on him, but it was an honest, like funny
Mm.
comment for him to make. I think what I have to realize and what other players have to realize is that these kids don't know, about, what I might have done in my career, and I can't come in here with an ego. Every day is a new day, every year is a new year, and
Facts.
I'm here to prove myself every single day on the training field. I'm here to win every single training session, and so, it's not what I done in the past, it's what I'm doing now, and so that's what I try to focus on.
I learned that too, somewhat younger, that when you're dealing with the younger generation or just younger people in general, it doesn't matter what you did in the past. It's all about what you are doing in front of them and in their presence. Does it benefit them or not? And contrary to what a lot of people think that are older or the old heads or whatever have you, we learn from younger people just as much, if not more, than they learn from us. But speaking of younger and previous generations, growing up in Dallas, Texas, talk to us about what soccer was like there. Talk to us about how it was situated in your family and why it really became a serious thing for you and your foundational years as a human being.
Yeah, it's a great question, and we're gonna have to go way back. Growing up in Dallas, as anyone who knows about the soccer community or soccer in the US, soccer in Dallas is a hotbed. You know there's a lot of talented players that come out of Dallas that are still coming out of Dallas. And for me, my uncle played professionally in Mexico, so it's kind of in the blood. He played for Monterrey, and what really changed it for me was the World Cup happening in 1994. When I was 6 years old, my mom volunteered to work at the Cotton Bowl, and she was able to get her hands on some tickets and go into the game, feeling that passion, the environment is what really set that in motion. Like, I wanna be on that field one day playing in a World Cup. And that's when it just clicked, and I was playing rec league in Dallas, then around 11 years old, right? That's the time where it's transitioning to club ball, and that almost didn't happen. A friend of mine on my rec team, was trying out for Dallas Texans. I knew nothing about it, but he asked me to come along with him. So I
Mm.
just go to the tryouts and just play
Wow.
my thing, and all of a sudden, my mom's getting calls like, "We want your son to come play for us," this and that. Of course, we didn't have the money to pay for it because club soccer was expensive then, and it's still expensive to this day. Nothing has
Mm.
changed. And, they end up putting me on scholarship, and the family that put me on scholarship, I'm still connected to this day. I'm still very forever
Incredible.
grateful for them and everything that they did to provide the opportunity for me to play at a higher level than what would have been rec soccer, right? The one thing I will say about the trouble with club soccer, and it's always closer to the nicer neighborhoods. It's always a further drive than what would be, um, you know, the South Side where I grew up in Oak Cliff. It was 45-minute drive through traffic, an hour drive to get up north. You know, when I was younger, I spent a lot of time with my family. We had posadas during winter time, which is where, you get together, you pray, you do all the thing around Christmas time, and just a lot of family. Like a Mexican family, you're always with your
Mm,
cousins,
yeah.
family, any
Mhm.
chance. But once club soccer started, I kinda got removed from that community, my Mexican culture, like,
Mm,
and then I started having to, like, assimilate into this, this white culture up north in order to, continue to play club soccer, and that's what I kind of, that's what I struggle with to this day. It's like,
mm,
I still lived in Dallas, but, my mom worked, like, 3 jobs, my dad was a truck driver, so they couldn't take me on the weekends to games or to tournaments, and so I was always weekends, every single weekend, staying the night at one of my teammates' house up north, in North Dallas and stuff. So, that's a little bit of my soccer journey, and I just wish that football was, you know, proper football where you're learning and developing is more accessible for everyone. And I can see that we're still struggling as I'm having kids and I'm seeing what the soccer scene is like and everything that's happening with clubs and how competitive it is. It's just madness, but I can still see to this day that we haven't figured it out. So
We've had Eddie Johnson on. He told a similar story of an accidental sort of tourist to the game. Eddie Pope told us an amazing story how he accidentally basically ended up playing soccer. And even now, you're sharing a story of you kind of being at the right place at the right time and the right connection for you to be able to get a ride and to be able to experience something. So when you think about the that moment in 94, take us through when you're playing in a World Cup. Is there a moment, Omar, you can remember? And our paths really did cross quite a bit when you and I are both part of the US men's national team. But is there a moment when you think about little Omar, 6 years old, 1994, and a proper grown ass man, center back, big daddy starting in a World Cup? Is there a moment you can think of where everything sort of flashed before your eyes and you had a sense of just sort of not only expecting it to happen, and it did, but also of just gratitude and humility for the journey?
experiencing that full circle moment, that gratitude, that just, the chills that you get. And it happened for me, I think, when I started against Germany.
Mhm.
Just the national anthem playing, preparing for the game, just realizing that, okay, like, I'm gonna play in a World Cup. I'm gonna start a game in a World Cup, and then just thinking about quickly just the sacrifice my parents had to make and just the countless, uh, hours of work that you put into it, the countless, moments that you're doubting yourself, right? And the countless times you get off the highway, take a wrong turn and then you get back on, right? And it's just the journey that had to happen for you to be in that moment and the people around you that taught you, that kept believing in you, that kept, um, you know, nudging you in the right direction. And, it was in that moment, happened really fast, but it was in that national anthem against Germany. The last game of the group of deaths, and we got through.
This is very interesting stuff, and it resonates deeply with me and Alan and everyone, I would imagine, on some level that either listens or watches the show. Because you spoke about a certain family that scholarshiped you into club football. Had that not happened, there would have been no Omar Gonzalez in terms of the career that we know. If it wasn't for Mitch Mitchell, if it wasn't for the Ainsworths, if it wasn't for the Stricklands, if it wasn't for the Biggses in Davis, California, there would have been no Jalil Anibiba as we know the career. So, it just makes me think, though, how many families that have kids at young ages that are and were so much better than you and I, just don't even have a chance to play soccer because soccer is a country club sport in America, full stop. But it's the world's game. Now you as a father and you're talking about getting your kids prepared to play in X, Y, and Z. How much are you seeing the sport being, I guess, you know, people are being priced out of the sport where they shouldn't be otherwise.
I think it continues to be the same story of, because you're absolutely right. I can think about so many players that at each level were better than me, right? But along the way, whatever happens, development or they get sidetracked or people stop believing them or they have a bad coach, whatever it may be, they fell off somewhere. But I continued to walk through doors and pathways kept arising for me. And so, I keep thinking about all these players and like what could have been if they were given the same opportunity to me? Would it have been them who had this great career and or you know, there should be enough for all of us to get through.
Right, right.
I just keep thinking about the little Mexican teams that just used to kick our ass,
Mhm.
just doing all, playing good football.
Mhm.
I don't I don't know what happened to them.
Exactly. Same experience in Cali too.
Same.
It kills me, and what's interesting right now is, like, I don't I mean, I'm gonna plug it, but I'm working with this app right now. Uh, it's a recruitment app for kids to be recruited to college, and it basically just gives them the power to reach out to as many colleges as possible. It's called Athlete Narrative, OG Recruiter. They're in charge of it all. It gives them the power, leveraging AI, and they can just shoot as many emails to as many colleges at any level, JUCO, D1, D2, D3, and I'm thinking the more these kids that wanna continue their development because as we can see through MLS, every player develops a different way.
Yep.
Yes.
Because you don't make it in the academy, you can still go to a JUCO college, get seen, transfer to another school, and then you develop in that time, and then you get drafted, and you have an amazing career. I mean, you think about Kai Kamara, you think about, Justin Meram, you think about, Chris
Mhm.
Wondolowski, like, their pathways were different, but they're forever etched in the history of MLS.
Gyasi Zardes.
Giassi Zardes, like, they're in there. And so for me, it's just like become like this little passion thing where it's like, let's give these athletes an opportunity to continue to develop. Just because they didn't play ECN now or they're not playing MLS academies or they're not a part of these MLS next tournaments, doesn't mean they can't make it. You just gotta keep plugging away and they need opportunities to play. Just keep playing.
Nah, this is what football is about. This is what it's about to have a long career and still playing, but have the wherewithal to understand what's going on around you, and then to not just sit back, but to do something about it. So make sure everyone taps into the app. Make sure if you and your kids are trying to navigate the process, you get tapped in with Omar because I hate hearing about the singular pathway. Oh, if you're not playing an academy, you have no chance to make it, or you're a failure, or if you're not going to one of the top college programs, it's done for you at 16. What are we talking about? How many of you guys played in the World Cup that went to college? How many guys that are playing in World Cups right now or on Nations League rosters went to college? You can get to the highest heights by just being locked into the pathway that works for you. The last thing that I'll say on access to the game before we transition is that I do a lot of work with with the youth in Nashville. And when you go into, frankly, the hood of Nashville, you can't play soccer at a high level. It's impossible. You have to go to your Brentwoods, you have to go into the Belle Meads, you have to go into Franklin, and everyone knows
College
these.
Grove, yeah.
Yeah, these are real neighborhoods in Nashville, but everyone knows these proverbial neighborhoods and wherever you grow up. So I just want everyone to understand that there is a true gap in access of the game, and it's hurting the final product, and it's also creating a situation where the full demographics of our country are not involved in soccer, and that needs to change. And for that to continue to change, you need to be tapped in with people like Omar Gonzalez.
And I'll just touch on this. It's like, what happened in our last game at Chicago versus Toronto was we had, I think the most homegrowns in Chicago Fire history to play in a game, and also the midfield was 3 Mexican Americans who came through the academy, which is awesome to see because,
Incredible.
here in Chicago, the Mexican population is huge,
Yep.
Mhm.
and the fact these kids were found and they found a way to make it to the first team is incredible, and I think that, this should be the standard. Finding kids of wherever they came from, go and find them because they're there. You can't make it easy. You have to put in the work and go find these kids and give them an opportunity.
Omar, we try to be people, I think, in life that stay in the solution and not the problem. How do we bring the game to those communities? Because the methodology of them coming to these moorings, these anchors in youth soccer is not allowing us to capture the full portfolio dynamic players. I often say wisdom, talent, intelligence is widely distributed, but access and representation and opportunities are not. So what are some of the ideas you have to build those real, legitimate, genuine connections for those players who don't go away because simply they don't have a ride anymore or their parents' job has changed. And I remember so much of that in Los Angeles that would happen and seeing all those talented kids too and wondering where did so and so end up. So what are some of your ideas of how we can bridge those gaps?
This would take a lot more time to really process this question, but right off the top of the head, and you mentioned it at the end of what you were saying was us coming to them, into their communities, into their local parks where maybe they can walk to the park, having a clinic or something like that. Because you're right, getting a ride 30, 45 minutes away is just too hard. If you're targeting those communities, the parents are probably working long hours,
Yep,
and you can't put it at a time right after school. They're never gonna make it, you know?
that's right.
And if it's an hour away, they're not gonna make it there. So you have to be, I think, really intentional about where you're putting these camps, these little clinics. Put it in the neighborhood, put it in the local parks. Figure out a way to tap into those neighborhoods and just like anything, be consistent.
Mm,
You can't just go one time and then not check in for another year, but just
Facts.
right.
consistency. You get to build a rapport, you get to, see the same faces, and from then, once people feel comfortable, what happens when they feel comfortable, they're happy, they're having a good time is they get to start to express themselves in a free way.
Mhm.
And so I think if you can build that type of environment and you know, be consistent about it, I think some great things could happen.
When you talk about great things, Omar, and you talk about being consistent and you talk about, striving for excellence, that's again, you and your career. What a lot of people don't know though is that when we were younger, playing for the U18 national team, Omar Gonzalez was a center forward.
Yes.
And not just any year old bum ass center forward, he was a baller. Straight up baller up top. And it always, that those experiences that we shared together when we were teenagers really framed the way that I thought about you as a player because
Mm,
I always saw you as a finesse center back. I always saw you as a very technical one. I always saw you as a very cerebral one because
same.
I knew that you could play center forward also. So for me, what I want you to talk about is some of the things in your game that you have really developed as maybe cheat codes or whatever have you. The secrets are already out. People know what you could do now. But talk to us about how you're able to read corner kicks to get on the end of them on the attacking side so well, and how you can read the game on the defensive end so well.
Well, thank you for what you just said, and I wasn't that much of a baller forward. Otherwise, I would have been starting ahead of Josie Altidore.
Omar, you were trying to get on the field, you kept moving lines, huh? You were like, "Okay, I'll just find my way to the back."
Let me just keep going backwards. Um, but I think, and I've been talking about this a lot. Last year, I played with Jimmy Maurer, uh, who's had another long career, goalkeeper, has been in the game for a long time. He's now at Houston, and we'd always have these conversations about what these kids are missing these days. And what makes it so easy for us, and how we can, read situations or use our body in a certain way. And what I think is we played all sports growing up. I played so many different sports. I played, baseball and basketball and soccer and football. Like, and so I think all these sports have parallels,
Yep.
things you can bring in from basketball and how you use your body, how you box out, how you go for rebounds, you know, seeing different angles. You can bring it into the sport of soccer. And
Mhm.
what I'm seeing is that players are so specialized this at such a young age. And I know this has been talked about recently so much, but I really do truly believe it.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
know, and also, when I was playing for that club team in Dallas Texans, I played midfield. I played, center back sometimes. I played forward. And so learning all these different positions, helps you understand the game better.
Facts.
Mm. And what's happening right now, it's pretty funny. Like there's a young kid here in Chicago, and he's like, I need my reps at center back. I need my reps at center back. And I'm like, bro, like, what do you want to do? You want to play one position, or you want to be on the field? Like when I was growing up, it was how can
Fact
you get on the field? Whatever the
facts.
team needs, whatever I need to do, I'm gonna learn the position because I want to play. Otherwise, if I just stuck to one thing, I have to wait my time and this and that. Like, I don't know. And so and so what I want to say to these young kids is that, like, learn different positions. If you get the opportunity, play different sports so you can see things differently, learn how to read a ball differently, of the flight of a ball. Um, because other sports have gems if you just experience it. It's all about experience. You can
It's like
talk about
life too, right, Omar, in terms of empathy and understanding, position empathy, and I was telling, the parents of a very talented player right now that, they were kind of they're honing into the position, and I just said, "You know how many players actually ended up as pros playing the position that they came up in?" I go, "Very few,
Very few.
very few."
Maybe them goalkeepers though.
Yeah, yeah. But that's more 'cause they pigeonhole themselves early. Um, Omar, I'm curious, you I know you're so proud about, representing the US men's national team. Talk to us about Pochettino, Nations League. Take us into the mindset of a player when you hit into this time here where the World Cup is a year away and all the performances you put in now will matter later. And what are your expectations for them and over the next sort of international break here?
yeah, I think personally, on a personal level, with a year to go to the World Cup, I mean, for me and my experience there was so much competition. There's no easy camps because every time you go in, you gotta show yourself. You gotta make sure that you're gonna get called back into the next one. Um, because if it is merit based, if you are if it is about how you're performing with your club, then you got to be great when you go into camp. You got to be great when you're playing with your club, and you got to be playing. That's all I thought about, is just like going in every single time, dominating, being that guy,
Mm,
and the rest takes care of itself. As it gets closer, you got to get hot, and you got to be consistent. Everything has to work out perfectly, because those times get a little bit nervy, right?
mhm,
Camps coming up, you start playing a little bit differently because maybe you don't want to get injured, and I just it's not the right mind frame to be in. You just gotta go out there and play free always and give it your best, and I think if the player does that, they should be fine. And so when I look at this roster, I think we have such a talented roster, and I think we're gonna be great, and I think we're moving in the right direction.
What I love to see at this point in time is guys like yourself who played in World Cup, who, did it all essentially with the national team, who are now paying it forward with the current group. You were at the last Nations League final in your hometown in Dallas, and you were presenting the trophy, and you were very excited, humbled, and honored to be involved because we chatted right before for that match. You see Clint Dempsey putting his arm literally figuratively around Christian Pulisic and helping him with everything that he's navigating. You see Guchen Yewu in his position, making sure that he's weaving you guys in terms of former veterans back into the group to help them really know and understand that the entire nation, including the former ballers, are behind them. So for you, how does that still continue to fuel the fire of your pride of being part of the US men's national team at the full level?
Absolutely. No, it's just an incredible opportunity. The fact that I'm still playing and you know, being able to be close to these guys and whenever I go to different cities, I saw Tim Ream recently to be able to chat it up with him and get to hear about how his experience is still going with the national team and just to be able to still be around, I think is great. But like you said, Clint Dempsey and Landon being involved and Josie showing up to camp. I don't know where that was,
Yeah.
but I think it's important for us to have access to be able to talk to these players, because at the end of the day, they're still young, navigating these difficult times, and I think they're doing a spectacular job because 'cause they're playing at the highest level, right? And so for me, they're doing things that I've never done, and so I'm just in awe of watching them do it, but, no, to have this opportunities to still be close to the game, play in the game, and just anytime I can be of service, to help these players navigate through any situation, I'm always here, and I know the rest of the guys are there, so that just makes me feel really good about it all.
Omar, you've been outstanding. I was chatting with Jalil earlier today, and I was sharing with him like how good it was to have you around in the league office at the end of the year and your energy and your charisma. And it's just so great when you get a chance to give back and to shine your light on everyone. So I just appreciate who you are and what you're doing because you, my friend, have a really good understanding about how to be a pro at the highest level, and nothing happens by accident. You don't get 17 years, 12 years like Jaleel without being good people first and foremost, but excellent professionals. So we're just so happy you stopped by. It says a lot from a national champion at Maryland to MLS, USMNT, and now shaping the game from a new perspective. You're more than a champion, Omar. We appreciate you sharing your journey, your insights. We can go on and on and on, and we'll definitely have you back on the show again. But on behalf of the crew, we just thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much, guys. It's been a pleasure. I had a lot of fun. And really, I just love having these conversations. I think they're really important conversations that need to be had. I think a lot of people are thinking the same things. And sometimes when you're thinking something and you hear people, at the top saying the same things, you're not wrong. You're on the right track. And so it just feels nice to have that community. And thank you guys for, just having the show and just providing that platform to be heard.
We are closing the curtain on another fantastic show. New Ground continues to do its own thing. We appreciate Omar Gonzalez stopping by. So insightful, so smart. You see why he's approaching Jaleel almost 500 matches played as a professional. He continues to do amazing things. Shout out to Greg Berhalter, completing the circle of life, if you will. Greg, a mentor to Omar. Omar now mentoring a good crew there at Chicago Fire FC. Time now for flowers. This week, my flowers are going to my former colleague and someone who showed me and taught me so much about the business of broadcasting, the legendary Bob Lee. Bob Lee was named the recipient of the 2025 Colin Joe's Media Award. He is now a National Soccer Hall of Famer. That induction in early May. Bob is someone who was so kind, so gracious in my years at ESPN, and one of those people that you will always remember, Jaleel, how they made you feel. So congratulations to Bob. He is one of the best to ever do it. Insightful, funny, genuine, authentic, one of the realest guys. And congratulations to Bob for the Hall of Fame and being someone who really helped contribute to the game and elevating it on TV and being one of the big names at ESPN who brought it into the fold.
Yeah, that's awesome. We're all about full circle moments. We're all about gratitude here on New Ground. So if you're good to us, we're good to you. What I'm going to do with my flowers is I'm going to go toward the locality of Nations League. We're going to the best state in the world. I keep saying it over and over and over, and it's none other than California, but we're zeroing in even further into where I'm from. We're going straight to Davis, California. My flowers are going to Max Arfson. He went to UC Davis. He's an Aggie. He's a baller. Currently plays for one of my former clubs in the Columbus Crew, a native himself of Fresno, California. The reason why Max is getting my flowers is because he has quickly ascended into one of the best outside backs when he plays winger sometimes, but as one of the best outside backs in MLS. Henceforth, he's been called in with the national team recently and taking his chances, gets into the national team as a late addition through Anthony Robinson having to drop out, but he's very poised to take his chance in this Nations League. He scored in his last game with the Columbus Crew against San Diego, and he's just a dude that's got a lot of swag, a lot of rhythm and humbleness to him. And I like the way that he plays, but more importantly, I like the way that he carries himself. He represents Davis, California very, very well. And anytime that I see ballers coming out of areas that I'm from, but are doing it in a way that inspires younger generations, but also going about in a very professional way, I'm going to give you flowers and a shout out. So I was able to connect with him over the off season and just to talk and chat about his mentality, and his mentality is very, very much locked in, and it's paying dividends for him currently, and I hope that he continues to ball out and continues to do Davis, California, himself and his family very proud.
Another excellent bouquet given out by Jalil, always representing the hometown. Shout out to Kat Mertz, by the way, someone I've known for a long time, the new women's coach at UC Davis at UC Davis. The Aggies having quite the little turn up here in soccer. Shout out to Max for all that great work as well. So, and another great show in the books. We really appreciate everyone behind the scenes. Our executive producer, Stefan Geraldo, always holding it down, running the con. Our team is amazing. Krista Mann, Megan Fontenot, and the incredible music director, Mason. For everyone that plugs in, we thank you so much. Make sure you subscribe. Find us on YouTube, on Instagram at New Ground Show. For Jalil Anibaba, I'm Allen Hopkins Jr. We will see you next time on New Ground. Thanks as always for listening.